Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome aboard the Max Afterburner podcast, sponsored, powered by the No Fallen Heroes Foundation universe. Man, I have more studio guests. We have Tracy Trost and Jack Maxwell, Southie Jack, joining us in the studio. I'm really excited for this one because rarely do I have in guest studio or a host. Guests
in studio
guests, man.
Easy for you to say.
It is. These guys are in town because tomorrow night we're actually having our No Fallen Heroes Foundation Christmas party, get together, end of the year debrief and celebration. We had a really good year, a lot of good stuff going on. Mr. Jack, you are on our advisory board.
Thanks to you.
Yeah, my brother. No, thanks to you. Right.
Well, you were on my TV show, Spirit Qwest. I didn't even know you. A friend asked a friend to ask
That's
you.
Right.
You came all the way from here, Florida, to San Diego to help me film my pilot.
Yeah.
Which is basically like a show I used to do on Travel
Booze Traveler.
Booze Traveler.
Yeah,
and
buddy.
excuse me, I have a head cold. I never sound like this. And I thought, what a great gesture. This guy who doesn't even know me came all the way out just to appear on this show. I can't wait to do something nice for him.
Oh.
So when you ask me to be on the board, it's not only a cause I believe in, but to come to the end of year celebration, party, fundraiser, all of that, I said for sure, and I even brought someone with me.
Yeah. Tracy, you guys are flying wing together on American Homecoming, man. Tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll get back into some other stuff.
Yeah, over the past 8-10 years, I've got to work with a lot of VSOs in helping them with their fundraising efforts and in getting to meet veterans, disabled veterans, a lot of them dealing with PTSD issues. Mm-hmm. You get to hear their stories. And one of the things that I got exposed to a lot, which something, of course, I wasn't aware of, is those who have gone off, fought, come back with some sort of physical disability. Mm-hmm. Now they come back to a home that doesn't work for them anymore. You know, if they say they're living in a wheelchair now, they need ramps, wider doorways, hardwood floors, a different bathroom. And so the idea came through the work I was doing with them is what if we created like a home renovation show, but the feature was mostly disabled veterans and come in. And so in the pilot, AmericanHomecoming.tv, little plug there.
Yeah.
Jack is the host of the show. I got to meet Jack through Joe Mantegna because Joe Mantegna, the actor, does work with DAV.
Fat Tony.
Yeah, who I do work with. And so Joe introduced us. And Jack got to come on and host it, which, of course, he did an amazing job.
Yeah.
And it's fun because you meet the veteran, and it's not even so much about, okay, yes, you're aware that they have a disability, aware that they serve the country, but you get the story behind the stories, like who is this person? Why did they serve? Why was it so important to them? Why were they willing to put their life on the line and do all these things? And then they come back, and now the struggles they're facing. And I think one thing that you really focus on, and a lot of people don't realize, is the battle that are if you actually look at the statistics, more people have died returning from war than actually have died during war.
Correct.
And I think it's the past 20 years.
Yeah.
And that's because of, the things that they're exposed to, things that they deal with.
Yep.
And there's not a program or programs. I know there's a lot of good organizations trying to do a lot of stuff. So I'm not saying people aren't trying.
Sure.
It's just, it's an epidemic. And I think you just said in your recent podcast, if we looked at the people who are dying from self-inflicted, injury since they've returned, it's worse than a mass shooting.
Every day.
That every day.
Every day.
They say 22. It's more like 50 to 60 people every day who are dying from, killing themselves basically because they can't find a place in life to feel like it's still worth living. And something needs to be done.
So organizations like the DAV, fantastic. We're No Fallen Heroes Foundation, shameless plug. We're jumping through our ass now to help these veterans. Could you imagine what the Vietnam guys went through and all these other ones who didn't have you all to rebuild them a home?
Or you.
Thank you. But I feel an absolute horror for previous conflicts, veterans. I mean, we're all jumping through our ass now to help the current guys and gals, but man, I really feel horrible for some of these folks in the past. So thank you both for what you're doing on that stuff. That it pulls it to heartstrings. These veterans are more than their disabilities. So I'm glad as the director and you're digging into the behind that injury, which is great.
We're just hoping to let people know about it.
Yeah.
It was such an honor to be able to host this show as an actor and a television host. I'd never done anything quite like this. And so when Joe Mantegna called me and said, hey, there's a guy I know and he has this thing, you want to talk to him? And I did. And Tracy had it all just about all in his head. And maybe I helped a tiny little bit to shape it or to do whatever. And then months later, he called me and said, "Hey, do you want to host this?" But that wasn't my idea to help him. I just thought it was such a great cause that I would love to do that. I never served. My father was in the Navy when he was a teenager.
Good man.
But outside of the Navy, that's for you. Outside of that, I don't have a lot of experience in that. My great uncle was shot down. I have a picture of him. He was a bombardier, and he had the bomber coat and everything,
Jacket,
really cool looking thing. It was 1943, I think the picture is out front, and they had the jaws painted onto the plane, that whole thing. And he got shot down. He was in a Nazi prisoner of war camp.
Holy shit.
Came out a raging alcoholic, which he wasn't before he went in because of all the torture. Just like you said, imagine if they had something like this. So he turned to the only thing available at the time to him to numb that pain, and it was alcohol. And he ruined his life. He had kids, and they wouldn't talk to him because the pain was so great. And he never talked about it. But when he died, I went to his apartment and to help clean it up. And under his bed, there was a lockbox. And inside of this box, there was a Nazi armband. And I'm thinking, what is that all about, right?
Yeah.
And there were postcards. So I got them and I brought them to my grandmother, his sister, and he goes, "Oh, I'll tell you the story of that." First of all, the postcards were, "Hey, Mom, the war's going great. The Nazis are winning, so I'll be home soon." Right?
Yeah.
You had to do that.
Propaganda.
Otherwise, they wouldn't mail propaganda.
Correct,
They wouldn't send it out. And they're all treating me great. They're wonderful people and blah, 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 blah. No wonder they're going to rule the world. All shit like that, right?
Jesus Christ.
But the Nazi, I said, "Well, what's the story about the Nazi armband? Do I got an uncle who's secretly,
Exactly. Oh, boy.
didn't he know that would cause a furor?"
Oh, boy.
Oh, that's all the time we have today,
All right,
folks.
Thanks for coming up. Try the veal.
It's just getting going.
So my grandmother said, how could he not see that?
Man.
So she said, there's an interesting story behind that.
Ava Braun, a better guest.
But I'm chunk.
All right.
Oh my goodness!
I tried.
It's hard to keep up.
I'll pick up. I'll pick up the cues.
I'll
and
leave it to you.
Not do any more of those. So she said, when he left, the Nazi guy who was so bad and horrible to him took off his armband when he was released and said, "As a memento, it's nothing personal. It's just war." So he kept that to show that we all have just an ounce or a bit or a skosh of humanity inside of us. He could have slapped him on the way out and nothing, you know what I mean? He said, "I'm sorry for it all. I'm just doing my job. It's just war." So he kept that so he would never lose his humanity. And of course, he drowned himself, died young.
Oh, my God, man.
Because he was never able to do it because there was no fallen heroes. There was no fallen heroes.
Correct.
Sorry. There was no American homecoming. There was no things to help him. So what you're doing is so wonderful. That's why when you asked him to be on, I said, I would do it in a minute because I so believe in the cause. That's why I'm on the advisory board. That's why I hosted that show.
Yeah, man.
Not because it's a job.
And also work with DAV.
And DAV
Jack was on a show called The Journey for DAV. And
Wonderful partners.
telling these different journeys of different veterans.
I'll correct you, and I think I've done this before, and I rarely do.
Correcting him?
You are serving now. You might not have worn a uniform, but this is how you do it. Kind of like when you were showing me the commercials before the air, man. Both you guys are. You're doing more than the average American, man. So thank you for what you're doing. The raising awareness is half the battle, to be honest with you, of these struggles. Because the ad you produced, I say, it's awesome if you say thank you for your service to another veteran. Put a comment after that and say, are you okay?
You're so right.
Are you good? You might just catch a gal or a guy on that day that says, I'm not. Can you help? And man, you could save one life and just change the world. You know?
I can't believe there are that many, 22 minimum, vets who kill themselves every single day. How are we not looking at this as the epidemic that it is, especially people who did so much for us?
My brother.
Instead of pointing the finger and say, it's that side of the political aisle that's dropping the ball, or that one, or this or that. Just do something.
Correct.
Just do something. I don't care what side you're on. Just do something. And that's why
I think what he's saying is just be another human.
I saw a headline a couple months ago that it had Matt Gaetz and AOC in the headline. I'm like, did they kill each other? And it was... They actually agreed on trying to get funding for this stuff, but it's a behemoth. I actually was in Washington walking the halls and talked to, he shall remain nameless, a congressman, an appropriator. I'm like, hey man, for the 31 M1 Abrams tanks you're sending to Ukraine for $10 billion, one of those tanks couldn't even kind of cut me off. He's like, you don't talk like that to an appropriator. That's a different pot of money. I'm like, hey man, outside of this, it's one fucking pot of money to us Americans.
And it's our money.
It comes out of my paycheck to go to you, and you're getting all bent out of shape that, no, well, that's a national security pot of money. I'm like, this ain't national security? I see how veterans are being treated. My two sons, one might listen to me, one might not. I don't want them to go in the military. The number one recruitment source of the United States military since day one has been their parent, somebody who served. And I don't know a veteran who wants their kids to serve. So you want to talk about a national security issue, Congressman? It's this. You're not making your recruiting goals because we see how you treat us. And now, don't talk like a tank equals 1,000 veterans. I am going to talk like that. So it's frustrating. And I see the frustration in your eyes because I'm the same way, man. If we had a mass shooting every day in this country of 22 people and the same guy is one of the ones who froths at the mouse when there is a mass shooting that says we need to ban guns. Why? Because if it saves just one life, wouldn't it be worth it? I'm like, why don't we legalize psychedelics for veterans? If it saves just one life, wouldn't it be worth it?
Well, look what they did on the planes. One guy tried to light his shoe on fire. Now everybody has to take their shoes off, right? Exactly. They try to do a shoe bomb, and that's it. Right away, we deal with it. That's why no fallen heroes and what you're doing with psychedelics, it's amazing because nobody would have put those two things together. I'm sure the wall is so big and so thick of brick that you can't get that past. Wait a minute. Psychedelics? That's drugs, man. That's hippie stuff. That's just stoners. That's just no. What it does is, and you'll explain better than me, rewires the brain.
Correct.
And by the way, you told me a story. Please tell it again because I don't have the details in my mind. But how you did a brain scan of someone and it was all dotted with all this trauma, and then boom, one time, and it cleared it. That's amazing.
One of the SEALs I sat with the medicine with, his brain scans from the VA were dark and black and gray. And 3 months after the medicine, it was white. The VA almost killed him with radiation poisoning because they're like, dude, they kept zapping me because they're like, the machine's broken or this ain't in your brain scans. He's like, stop. And he was on 15 meds, 5 to wake up, 5 to go to bed, 5 for chow at lunch. Whiz, 3 years, I haven't taken fucking meds since. So you can tell who the threats are. One of these other congressmen that I spoke to is like...
if you have an answer to the problem, then those who make money off of keeping you on drugs...
Well, guess what, man?
Not going to make any money.
A different congressman said, well, Whiz, you're going to have a problem with Big Pharma. I'm like, I ain't going to have a problem with Big Pharma. You're going to have a fucking problem with Big Pharma. Lead follower, get out of the way. Because, alcohol, tobacco... The definition of a Schedule I drug in the United States is no therapeutic use and a high risk of addiction. It's a cigarette, man. It will kill you, and it's not therapeutic.
Sure.
The Ibogaine I did was the most therapeutic experience of my life, and it's anti-addictive. I don't want to go do that again. I mean, if I need to knock the rust off, I will, but it ain't something, where I'm chain smoking. So go figure, whether it's the alcohol lobby or the tobacco lobby, there's some powers that be, or Big Pharma, right? And it's funny because Big Pharma, I go to all these conferences. I'm doing my intel gathering. So when we were at Psychedelic Science out in Denver with Rick Doblin at MAPS, and great news this week, before I forget, I was flying back from Aspen. Before I got to the jet, breaking news, MAPS, the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Science, filed officially with the FDA to make MDMA legal for therapeutic use.
Awesome.
And the FDA's got 60 days to decide whether it's going to fast track it, which is 6 months, or drag their ass, and that's like 10 months. So we're getting here, right? But when I was out at the conference, I'm like looking at all these guys in khaki pants and like polo shirts. I'm like, they're either feds or they're Big Pharma, and probably both. Sometimes they're one and the same. So Big Pharma is actually starting to wake up to this. They've been kind of speaking out of one end of their mouth like, ooh, voodoo, creepy shit, and they are trying. I'm starting to hear now, well, if we change this one molecule, you won't lie on your back for 12 hours. You'll still get some of the benefits without the trip. And of course, we're going to patent that since we changed one molecule, and now it's $1,000.
Yeah, they can make money at it. They'll be all about it. It all comes down to money.
Follow the fucking money, dude. But God is a smart pharmacologist. You can't patent a root or trademark a toad or a fungus. So at the end of the day, healing is free, but they're going to try and put a moat around it, right?
So what's the biggest impediment other than big pharma and politicians who take big pharma's money? It's been proven scientifically. You would think that there's less speed bumps along that path. What is the big thing?
We're getting there, right? It's this. It's what we're doing. It's the awareness. Right, because one of the congressmen,
there's any preconceived ideas of what something is.
The congressman from Michigan, he was the I forget his name. Really old school Republican type of guy. He's like, well, it's kind of the marijuana and recreation. I'm like, no. So I gave him my 10, 15-minute whiz pitch and my experience. He's like, well, damn. So if I can talk to somebody who's like, these are drugs and or they're evil.
Well, the word psychedelic.
That's exactly right,
man. It's not a great word for something like that.
No. Well, and a lot of the older folks, I won't age myself, but the Vietnam era people, it got tarred, right? Hold on a second. You took something that instead of making you want to go fight the yellow man on the other side of the world and kill him, you actually see him as a soul and you're anti-government. Well, clearly that's illegal, and now we branded that. So, the war on drugs and everything. So we are trying to change hearts and minds, and we're pretty good at it, right? If you can listen to Lone Survivor, Marcus Luttrell, or Jared Taylor, JT from Black Rifle Coffee, Aaron Rodgers sat with ayahuasca. He's like, I didn't do ayahuasca to be a better football player. I did ayahuasca to be a better human. And he seems like a pretty good dude. So it's changing the narrative, Jack, I think. Once... leaving Washington, I'm like, it is a swamp. It's a shit show. So this is going to be a we the people thing. This ain't coming from them down. It's going to have to come from us up. That's why having you and being able to help and raise awareness and when you can and everything that we're doing, it really is about the awareness. Because when I talk to people and they're like, oh, okay, I had these, and I'm like, no, man, So once we get the narrative, I think it's going to change people, but it's coming from us up. It ain't coming from them down.
It's going to come down to storytelling, honestly.
Yes.
You got to share the stories. And if there is a chasm of information, people will fill it with what they've learned or heard before.
Exactly.
Well, funny you would say that.
So you got to give them a new story.
Because he has a story to tell and a new possible venture.
Man, we are talking to Live Entertainment about a TV show or whatever it's called. You guys know this stuff better than me. Called Extraction. The TV show Intervention, like 10 seasons, 300 episodes, and because they go in and they try and help people, right? Addicts or something like that. But man, why don't we do that? Why aren't we doing that for veterans? So I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. Take them, go do the medicine. Follow them before, during, and after. So I'm putting that out to the universe, man. We that needs to happen. So hopefully it's
Where is that? Happen. What's the status of that?
That's a good question. It's a next year thing. I'm actually, you guys maybe help me this weekend, storyboarding out 6 episodes and I don't even know what that means, to be honest with you. So I have a whiteboard at home. So, but they told me to start mapping it out.
We'll figure it out.
That's why I gotta pick your brain. Jack.
Yes, sir.
Booze Traveler. Almost everybody's seen Booze Traveler. Incredible show.
Thank you.
Talk to us about because you're a cancer survivor.
I am,
and you look fantastic. My mom. You'll meet my Irish mom tomorrow night. She's going to love you.
Oh, that's great.
She's doing good too. Talk us through that and bouncing back even higher than where you left the Booze Traveler.
Sure.
With Spirit Qwest and everything you're doing.
First of all, congratulations to your mom for beating it or getting through it to this point.
83-year-old Irish battle axe, man. That woman.
Strong as an ox.
Lost her daughter, lost her husband. I mean, and she had to put up with my shit. So, she's Saint Mom. I love you, Mom.
Can't wait to meet that woman.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's great.
Yeah, I was doing a show called Booze Traveler on Travel Channel. Started in 2014. It ended up being a 4-year run. But halfway through 2016, I go to the doctor because I know it's time for a heart checkup. Just in between seasons, I figured, to stay healthy. Because what I was doing was difficult physically and mentally.
You were doing some crazy shit.
I was doing some crazy stuff.
Drinking some crazy
all around
shit.
the world, driving. Dude, as a matter of fact, my oncologist, when I got done with my... I developed another thing, and I had to go somewhere else, and I'll get that later. But I came back to her, and I said, "Okay, let's finish up this thing and the cancer thing, because I developed osteomyelitis, which means my bone was dying."
Yeah.
And she said, "That's more serious," because I was doing maintenance chemo. after my regular chemo, she goes, go take care of this. So I had to have a PICC line put on my bicep, up my arm, across my chest, into my heart. Every day, couldn't miss one day. Every day for a month, I had to have a couple hours of antibiotics put in there to kill the osteomyelitis so my bone would stop dying. Then I went back to my oncologist, and she said, okay. And I said, great, I'm done with that. Let's finish up the last 6 months. I was supposed to do 2 years, but I had to stop after a year and a half because of the osteomyelitis. And let's finish this. She says, wait a minute. You just had a month of daily infusions, maintenance chemo for a year and a half out of the 2 years, hard chemo for 3 or 4 months, and you had cancer the whole time. And by the way, Jack, I've seen that show of yours, zipping around the world, doing this crazy stuff, all of that. I got to ask you, do you know any good bars in Iceland?
Hey-o.
So, it was a surprise to get this diagnosis.
I do.
Just so happy. You have seen my show. I went to get a heart checkup, and they found a little blip at the bottom of the screen. And they said, that doesn't look good. I said, that doesn't sound good. Let's go check that out. So they said, come in, we'll do a whole cavity scan from your neck down to your waist. And my stomach, abdomen, the whole area was littered with cancer.
Wow.
So they had to go through my back to do a biopsy. And they said, it's either non-Hodgkin's lymphoma or Hodgkin's lymphoma. I said, great. Which one am I rooting for?
Exactly.
It all depends. Neither one of them is, it's not like you win the car or the truck. Yeah. It's no good either way. So it turned out to be non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. But it was so slow growing and the guy said, you seem to be fine. Don't you have any symptoms? I said, well, what are the symptoms?
Incredibly good looking.
He said, thank you. No, he said, well, you're tired all the time, your limbs hurt, you wake up in the middle of the night, you don't sleep well, your eyes, you have headaches. I said, welcome to Booze Traveler.
That's called production.
Yeah, staying up, shooting all day.
Welcome to Hollywood, baby.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't know the difference. He said, well, that's probably why you didn't know you had it, because you just do your job and you weren't complaining.
Yeah.
Because every season we did 16 one-hour shows, and then we did another show also in the last year, and it's grueling. As a matter of fact, the crew had to switch out 2 or 3 times a year, because it was so,
But not you.
Only an idiot would do every episode. Who would do that? What jerk would do every episode? Are you kidding me? So after a while, I guess it caught up to me, and then I got sick. But he said, because you're so good, let's wait. It's called benign neglect. Let's just keep an eye on it and see where it goes. Next scan after the original diagnosis, it went down a little bit. The scan after that, same thing. And he said, you must have some certain mindset because certain people can do that with their minds.
Once you identified it, you know, so your placebo effect.
It's a weird thing, right? And it actually worked. And then, but that's, that only goes so far. Yeah. So eventually it caught up to me and it started growing again. And so I went into chemo. And thankfully, no radiation. I know some people do both. And I went in there and I thought, what's the best way to get through this? Because a lot of people watch the show, and now I have a responsibility, really. I wouldn't say I'm a role model, but people are going to look at me and see how I handle this and maybe
you have a platform. Yes.
Exactly. So we reached out to Us Weekly to do an exclusive interview, and I told them, because no one knew at the time, but because people are in there taking selfies. There's it's a big, looks like a mani-pedi salon, the chemo room. There's like 16 people
everybody's in there.
And everyone's come to visit in, and all of a sudden, hey, that guy over there.
Yeah, he looks familiar.
Isn't that, is that drunk guy dying of cancer? What's going on? So I did the interview, and Whiz, I got to tell you, so many people reached out saying, you're so positive in this article. Is that how really it is? And you're going to get through it, and we're rooting for you, and will you be my cancer buddy, and all these things that I never thought of before. And so I have to be strong, not only for me. I already had a plan going in that I would take it in the best way possible, with the best. I got myself, and practical things too, not just in my mind. So I got an eye mask, and I got noise-canceling headphones, and I played the most beautiful instrumental song, 25 different versions on repeat that I've ever heard. And for those who are curious, it's A Time for Us, theme from Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. Whether it's strings or piano, it put me in such a state that I chilled, and I was sleeping, and the nurse comes over on the first day, because it's 6 hours every time you do this. She came over and gave me a nudge, and I woke up. I said, what's the matter? Because I thought I was swearing in my sleep, because people wake up, they're swearing and things like this, screaming, crying in pain. So I thought maybe she says, you didn't ring your bell. I said, what do you mean I didn't ring my bell? Why are you here? I thought ringing the bells to get you attention. Well, don't be a hero. Ring the bell. I said, I'm no hero. I'm just trying to get through it the best way I can. Mm-hmm. She says, well, listen, you don't have to be a tough guy. Ring the bell. We'll come over. I said, but I was sleeping.
I'm not being a tough guy.
Fine, yeah.
I can be a tough guy. Don't get me wrong. I'm from Boston.
When I need you, I will certainly call you, but I'm handling it well. And she said, okay, but it's not always going to be like that. I said, I understand. Thank you. And so, long story monotonous, she said, you're going to lose your hair and it's going to come back white because you're old. Thank you. And all these other things. I never lost my hair.
Yeah.
And I do have 2 whites on the side and 1 on the other side. But I mean, for my age, I got really lucky. But I think your mindset is so 100%. Much of that. That's why I can't wait 100%. To try the medicine with you. I must now, so I know what it is I'm talking about. But the mindset going in, look, if you get hit by a car, no matter what your mindset is, you're going to get run over. I get that.
Yeah.
But there are certain things we don't understand about the mind. And I think your research and your psychedelic experiments, it's unlocking that.
Yeah.
And it's so much, like you say, the benefit of this earth is here for us, so we haven't tapped into the potential. And so somehow I got a hold of positive mindset when I was younger, thanks to my mother, my grandmother, because I had a rough upbringing. And I kept that with me. But traveling and doing Booze Traveler, we were talking about this on the way over with Tracy, that so many third world countries, people have next to nothing and they're happy. And they're joyous.
Correct.
And they're grateful. And I'm thinking, here I am complaining about traffic on the 405. That means I have a car to drive, and I'm complaining about it.
I'm breathing. I'm in a car.
It's relative. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that was the story through cancer, and my experiences helped shape that to make it a very positive thing. I didn't lose my hair. I look roughly the same. I came through it with flying colors, thanks to the wonderful people who helped me through it, the medical experts and my doctors and nurses, but also it's how you go into something. The only thing we have control over is how we feel about a certain thing. And the minute you see that as a good thing, or being grateful, or finding and not struggling to find, being truly grateful for what you have, it changes your whole life.
There's lots of scientific evidence of the changes in the metabolism and the your neural pathways that are written when you just through the expression of gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so a friend of mine, Jim Stovall, he was the author of The Ultimate Gift, taught me this lesson. He says, every day write down 5 things you're grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
And many times, if it's like, say it was you, Whiz, I'll send you a text. Hey, man, just thinking about your day. I want you to know I'm thankful for you and grateful for you.
Yes.
I've never gotten one of those.
He said Whiz.
I said eventually I get to the bottom of the list.
Oh, okay.
It's down there.
Oh, wow.
But I think shut up, I've sent you a copy.
Of course you have. I'm teasing. Of course you have.
I kid.
It's such a great thing to do because, again, what Jack was saying, you set your mindset, then in life, what you focus on, you will see. What you're looking for, you will find.
Correct.
And many times we feed ourselves with news and with all the crap of the world instead of the positive things. And
if it bleeds, it leads.
Exactly. That's the sad thing. I mean, in the fundraising world, it was always if it cries, it flies, But we changed that. Yeah. Through my work with Shriners Hospitals and and even DAV and others, we tell stories that are compelling and make you want to be a part of it and want you to like when you watch these 2 videos I just showed you, you're like, dude, I'm going to tear up here because you resonate with it, you can connect with it, and then you want to be a part of it. Yeah.
To your point, Jack, my brother Slider, I'm grateful for my suffering. If you can find gratitude in the lows, you're doing pretty damn good. What's this trying to teach me? What's God or the universe? Why type of thing? Instead of like, woe is me and this sucks. And
that's exactly what I did with the cancer. I said, okay, this is now a new path for me, a challenge, a speed bump, but not a roadblock.
Yeah.
And there's different. And so I was doing a podcast in the middle of...
You did another podcast? Son of a bitch.
I think it was before you had yours. This is
and he's never sent you a grateful letter either.
Oh my gosh.
And they said
exactly.
You guys. Oh, a tough room. And the podcast host said, well, how did you control your mind through this instead of getting sad or depressed? Or because in 1 year I had a TV show, My Health, and Money in the Bank from doing the show. and I lost it all in 1 year because of the treatments and everything that other stuff I did.
Yeah.
I lost all of those things. So it could mess with you if you allowed it to. And she said, how did you control your mind to not let it get you down or depressed? And I said, that's the thing. I didn't, and here's why. We have less control than we'd like, but more power than we know. And once you know the difference, it changes everything.
Yeah.
It's true.
Bingo.
It's true. Did you ever read the book by Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich?
I made that one up, by the way. I didn't get
13
that out of some
lessons.
book.
I
I
myself
was
out
just
of
going to
books.
ask you to repeat, text that one to me,
Do
because
that
that's
again.
good, man.
Yeah, we have less control than we would like, but more power than we know.
Then we know. Oh, man, I love that, man.
It's a good one.
Yeah, and some people,
Trademark Matthew Buckley as of this date. Wow.
people confuse the two because they need to.
They have it backwards.
Yeah, it's exactly right.
And that's where the struggle and the pain comes from.
And once
man.
I learned that, because pain, not to throw around cliches, but okay, so pain is inevitable, suffering's a choice, as they say,
go.
right?
Yep.
But in this particular instance, what does suffering come from? I said to myself, and it comes from attachments, expectations. If you don't have those, then you don't suffer.
Correct.
Because you understand the impermanence of life. And I don't want to get too woo here, but
Buddha.
once I started working on
Yeah.
that, it changed everything. And as Muhammad Ali said, if you're the same man at 40 that you were at 20, you wasted 20 years of your life.
yeah.
So same with this. You always want to grow and learn and all of that's why I love what you're doing with this, because who would have thought 10 or 15 or 30 years ago that, wait a minute, psychedelics and we'd be using them to help veterans with PTSD? Nobody would have ever thought that.
No. Yeah, that would be unheard of. Now, I'm going to ask you, since you snuck it in the middle of your story, is the medicine calling to you?
When I first heard about what you were doing, right away I said, I bet that would help me also. Instead of saying, that's not for me, I don't have PTSD, I probably do.
You do.
In some way.
Correct.
It doesn't have to be in the theater of war. It can be from anything.
Trauma is trauma.
Trauma is trauma. And oh, by the way, if I learn something about myself through this process, if I'm open to trying new things, new experiments, to bettering myself, because whenever we say no without really understanding what it is we're talking about, it's only fear. Mm-hmm. And as I get older, I want to have less fear and more understanding. Mm-hmm. Because courage is not the absence of fear. It's doing it in the face of fear, right? Just like you.
Yeah.
Top Gun fighter pilot, you'd be lying if you said, never did your heart ever race during the middle of that, right?
Yeah.
That alone.
Absolutely.
Never mind all of the other stuff. You tell me stories that the ships you're on create their own micro environment, weather patterns, and you have to land in the middle of the night. All of that stuff got to get the heart racing, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I said to myself, I have to do this. I have to do this. So I'm going to, and you will hopefully recommend which one and how long and where to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Because I just want to be a better person. That's all. To serve others.
I love that.
To be happy, to be a better person, so that when I leave, I will have done a little something more for this earth as opposed to taking a little more. That's all.
Wow, man. Epic. So, yes. So let's put you on the flight schedule for 2024, man. So tomorrow night, you're going to meet our beautiful director of medicine operations, and you'll pick the medicine. We'll get you on a retreat with some good vets, some first responders, or some family members, man. So we're coming up with our 2024 schedule. So I'd love to have you.
I would be honored to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And I will talk about it for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I will proselytize. I will help this
Apostle.
this program.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited. I'm glad. So we're going to have you back on the podcast because, pre-medicine Whiz, I kick my own ass if I heard me talking like this, but it does call to you and you've heard it. But I'd like post-medicine, obviously, to give your debrief, because when I looked back on agreeing to do the medicine, and old Whiz was a piece of work, things changed. So once you get like a date and I'm going to Colorado or Costa Rica, wherever we go, I want you to look back and kind of give us a debrief if you start seeing things change. Because 99, I haven't heard one person say, you know what, I agreed to do the medicine and nothing changed. So put that in your brain housing group just in case.
Will do.
Yeah. Tracy, talk to us about American Homecoming. What's on the radar for that moving forward, and how can No Fallen Heroes help? What do you guys need from me? And talk to us about the future of that.
Like any TV show that you're creating, it's finding a home for it, finding a place for it. We're kind of in the midst of that right now.
Are you guys shopping it around? Or
yeah.
What's it called?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's really, the important thing is, quite honestly,
wait, before I forget, I mean, remind me tomorrow to introduce you to, are they coming? If they're not coming, you have to meet the people who started Live Entertainment. They want good, they're like, dude, Netflix, you can watch
So that's what I'm looking for, is someone who gets what we're doing versus.
They told me, they're like.
It's kind of like pharma versus, messing.
Correct.
Like, I don't want somebody who's just like, oh yeah, we'll take your show because we make a bunch of money on it. And get
No.
I want someone that I can work with as a partner in what we're doing, who believes in the message of it, what we're doing. And the whole focus here is to help people, not to just, yes, you got to make money, you got to make a living.
Yeah.
Okay. But I can make make a living doing production for anybody. That's
correct.
That's not my thing. I want to do something that's like Jack said, when I leave, there is a mark. There are footprints in the sand. People knew I was here. People knew there was a difference, and they either want to follow those footprints or maybe sometimes avoid them. I'm not sure.
Both are good, right?
yeah, sometimes walk where I did and sometimes don't, right? Mm-hmm. So that's where we're at right now. The show, we did the pilot. It's AmericanHomecoming.tv versus .com.tv. It's a great show. There's also a little trailer on there, but it's finding that right partner. So that's what we're looking for right now.
So Live Entertainment, met the executives, met all the people that started. They're like, we're going to be different. Netflix, you can watch a series about the devil having sex with teenagers. They're like, Americans are burnt out of shitty content. In their, whatever it's called, pitch deck thing they sent to me, they're like, it had the Terminal List with the Navy SEAL, and they had Maverick. They're like, the top 2 streaming things right now are patriotic. People don't want crap. They want good stuff.
Something that you can be proud of, quite honestly.
Exactly.
There's entertainment. There's nothing wrong with
that. Yeah. I like willful suspension of disbelief.
But if you want to actually, watch something that will leave you with a positive mental outlook, will make you. So I think,
or call you to action. I'm going to get off of my couch.
Yeah.
I'm going to go help at the VFW or the local DAV and help.
Yeah. See, that's the thing about this show.
Being aware of it.
It has everything. It's entertaining, certainly, because we look at it in a fun way. The veteran who we helped, we did his house. I treated him like a normal person. I was messing with him, joking around with him, doing stupid puns, whatever, because he says everybody walks around him and treats him with such
eggshells
fragility. And he said, thank you for treating me like a real person. Because that's the approach. It's not, pull the heartstrings, this poor guy. No, okay. So he's serving his country. He got cancer, crushed his spine, forced him into a wheelchair. Let's do something for him. Where's he going to be most of the time? In the house. Let's do the house. This is Tracy's idea. Widen the doorways, took out the steps, put in ramps, and we also
lowering appliances,
everything like that, and pulled out the tub, put in a roll-in shower in the bathroom, but also did a beautiful thing, made it look nicer as well, not just functional. But it was fun. It was funny, entertaining, informative, all of it, and it had a great message.
Yeah.
And I won't say his name, of course, but I was with the head of a network, and we showed it to him, and he said, "Oh, that's great, but there's too much feeling.
It's too
in
deep.
It. It's too deep. We just want something that they could put on in the background, and then afterwards, because there's a million house rental shows. He says we just want to watch it, and at the end, look, nice job. We don't want to have to pay attention to it. Which, to be fair, that's their edict.
There's a market for that
over there.
Sure,
that's their thing. So I don't blame him, but it just sounds so funny.
So that's why finding the right partners.
Finding the right partner, whether it's corporate partner or cable, a network, a streamer.
I think I got your part. And this is awesome. This is a God moment, because these are the folks that are like, we want quality stuff like that, where you're not, it's on in the background. You're in it. Yeah. Like, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go help and build a place. So,
and it's such a good thing, right?
And it's you can get involved in it too, if you want. I mean, there is a partnership program called a delegate, basically, for American Homecoming. So if you want to not only watch a show, but you want to be involved in it, know if you're going to give some money monthly, it's actually going to go to this veterans ramp.
Fantastic idea.
Thing,
That is,
and it's not a nonprofit,
awesome.
So there's no benefit that way, but it's more of a membership base.
It's a for-profit for you to help somebody and to feel better and to like, I did something.
And what a thing, because everyone says they are for the troops. Everyone, both sides of the aisle, they want to be. So when they come back, how come we're not for the
troops?
Where'd you go? Because that's the time they really, sure, when you go off to war, you want to have the right equipment and all of that, which I know nothing about, but you would, obviously. But when you come back hurt, broken, defeated, crippled, disabled, some kind of physical or mental stress that you're going through, why aren't we helping them then? That's when we should pour the money into it. There shouldn't be a need to help our veterans. That when they come back,
it should be a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer. So that's why I love what you're doing, and DAV being a good partner, and other ones like that. Why wouldn't some? This is what gets me. They hear about the show and they say, of course we would. Who would not want to help them? And I want to be a part of that because it shows what a good organization I am, what goodwill it would be to do that. So that's who we're looking for, someone who feels that way, not just says, oh, okay, we'll get us good ratings, we'll make X amount of money, that's it. So it's a really... it's a culture. You have to find the right, it's the culture, find the right partner.
Yeah, the right mindset. I like to tell people that I would solve the problems of the VA and these disabled veterans 24 hours if I was president. I'd sign an executive order that says everybody from me, the president, down to the newest congressman, gets their health care from the VA.
Yeah. You would see a change
would fix that shit in 24 hours, man. Ain't going to happen, man. Yeah. Some of these vets, oh, dude, I had to wait 8 months to get an appointment with my primary care doc. It's a disgrace. Yeah. It's a disgrace.
My son's a Marine, and he had an issue with his neck, and it took years, and he finally got it done. But they had to go outside the system to get it done.
Why is that? Why? All the politicians say the right things. It's not like Big Pharma doesn't want to help our vets. They'll ply them with pills and things like that. So this is a true question. This is not how are we not doing more when they come back? Because everyone says they want to, but no one's doing it. How's that possible?
You ready for this? One of the biggest things is that we don't believe our veterans. So let me get this. So let's be clear. There are people who would lie and do fraudulent things. Let's get that out of the way. Let's say that's a rounding error. But for a guy like me, when you say, like, you tell the VA, hey, I'm suffering from X, Y, and Z, it's almost like a court case. You have to prove, and 9 doctors, and you go in front of a board. It's insane. So I had a top secret clearance flying the F-18 Hornet over the skies of Iraq, graduated from Navy Fighter Weapons School, and now I'm a liar to get an extra couple fucking $100 a month. Are you insane?
I know.
And you're dealing.
So crazy.
I will say that there are good people in the VA. There's good people everywhere, but you're dealing with some in the VA who are GS whatevers, who are like
bean counters, pencil pushers.
It is a jobs program, and and this has come out a couple times that the VA is actually incentivized to say no or like reduce benefits and stuff. They get paid a bonus, dude. You don't even want to fucking kick over that rock. So it's the VA is just such a massive bureaucracy. I forget the exact quote from Lincoln that's in front of the VA building. Like, we need to provide for all I almost want to like take a pencil and fucking line it out, or with some spray paint. It's a lie. So it's structurally awful. It would take an entire demolition or a stroke of a pen to say, if it's 8 months for you to see your primary care doctor, you're approved to go see a dude in Boca Raton.
But that was happening.
Well, look how long they denied Agent Orange. Now, my stepfather...
Oh, my God, yeah, man.
Had symptoms and all this kind of weird stuff, and he was directly in it.
Yeah.
And it took them decades to finally get, and they said, oh, yeah, you do have it. But I remember the first time I heard the word... Everyone said, oh, no, there's no such thing.
Exactly.
Politicians put it out there, no such thing. They're just coming back, loopy in the head. They're a little screwy. Yeah. They're making this thing up, Agent Orange. That weed killer just killed weeds. It didn't do anything wrong.
It's healthy.
Yeah, sure. Little riboflavin. Get some of that vitamin C in there. And then, so they're always so late behind.
It's got the word orange in there. It was healthy.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I'm so excited, because it seems like a big jump to say psychedelics can be useful, because people did them like Timothy Leary, turn on, tune in, drop out, all of that stuff. People misused them. Like you said, they would do anything. They'd commit for any nice thing. Someone will find a way to screw it up, to
go too far,
be fraudulent, whatever. Correct. And same with psychedelics. I don't think we knew what we had, but there are Native American tribes and natives of other countries that have been doing it for thousands of years.
Correct.
And it helped them. But we say, oh, those are savages. They don't know what they're doing. Look at how they live. Oh, you mean to 110 and healthy and happy? Is that what you're talking about? And they they kill their own food, and what they kill, they eat, all of that? That sounds pretty good to me.
That sounds... So Nicole, our director of medicine operations, this little blonde lady yoga instructor, traveled to Gabon, Africa, to get initiated into a Bwiti tribe. 2 weeks in the middle of the jungle. I'm like, can you text me and tell me your life? She said that. She's like, these Bwiti, I look at abject poverty. The kids could not have been happier, running around, playing with sticks or whatever. I mean, you're right. We look at them like, Iboga from Gabon. I'm like, they look pretty damn happy, man. And they have everything they need. Yeah. They don't need this shit. They don't need all the trappings of what we think success is. And they look pretty damn good. And they've been using this stuff for thousands and thousands of years. And here we are in the West, like, wow, we just discovered this stuff. They're like,
no, you just can't make money on it.
Throttle back a little bit.
You know what I really love, though, about the way you do it? Because this is, when I have talked about this, they said, oh, what if I have a bad trip, man? Because bad trips and people thought they could fly and jump off roofs, all this nonsense stuff that most of it never even happened.
Correct.
But I remember you told me, because of the way you go into it, which is everything, with the mindset, and you have someone there who's a shaman, a medical professional, all of that.
Yep.
Not one time ever have you had someone do the medicine that had a quote, end quote, bad trip.
Nope. It's all how you looked at things. You know who's had bad trips? People who just show up out of the blue and say, hey, I'm going to do this Saturday night. Whoa, of course. So it's almost like the medicine is telling you not to do something like that. Like a spider discolor is like, hey, don't touch me. The medicine is like that. When I talk to Slider, we treat it like a combat mission, man. You brief, you go in with intentions, what your mission objectives are. There's professionals there to help you if there's any stuff. And then 95% is the integration. What you do when you get home. If you get home and you're like, wow, that was epic, that was just an experience. If you don't unpack everything that you saw and experienced, then it's not going to work. So this isn't, I'm going to take mushrooms Saturday night. Nah, man, dude, that sounds awful to me. To me, these medicines aren't recreational. I'm not looking down on anybody who does them for recreation. Yay, you do you as the pilot in command. But for the No Fallen Heroes Foundation, deadly serious about these things.
It's treatment.
It is treatment. And that's why we call them medicines. I know some people get a little twitchy with that. I'm like, they ain't a drug, man. God ain't in a lab with a beaker and a lab coat putting this stuff out there. They are medicines. So there are people like, oh, we're not allowed to call them medicines. I'm like, no, I will, because they healed me. They healed me more than a bottle of booze or the 15 benzos and all sorts of other crack that are killing people. Yeah. So
I think that's the best way to look at it too, because you were skeptical. Somebody somehow talked you into it or convinced you to try it. And you did a 180 from I'm against it, there's no way this will work, to not only did it work and made me a better person, which is the only standard you should apply, you want to help others. That's how much it influenced you. And because of that, not only do I want to try, but I can't wait to do the same thing and in some small way help others also.
It's all about putting the ladder down, bro. But you got to you guys flew here on airliners. What the flight attendant tell you? If we lose pressurization, put the mask on yourself first. You ain't good to anybody else in the aisle. So I'm looking forward to that, bro. Put the mask on yourself, and then you can put the ladder down to others. So having said that, Tracy, does this call to you at all? Or is that down the road?
I don't know anything about it yet.
There we go. So here's a God moment. So
I'll get educated.
Tomorrow night, you're going to meet some great veterans. I think some first responders. You're going to meet some people who are just completely changed human beings. And and we can end on this note, is one of the reasons I believe these things still have a little bit of stigma is these medicines can turn warriors into peacemakers. Old me, I would have swam across the Atlantic by now to kill as many Russians or Hamas as physically possible. Still might want to do that to the Hamas, but I see souls now. I don't see shells. Old me, dude, nothing but a meat eater killer. And now I'm like, if we get to there, I mean, war is the ultimate failure of the human condition, of seeing each other as souls. If we have to go to pick up a rock and smash another guy into the head, dude, it better be it for a fucking great reason. Somebody kicking open the door to my house to kill me or my family, I'll pick up a rock.
And as they say, only the dead have seen the end of war.
Only the dead. That's exactly right. Exactly right.
So help me understand real quick. Would you say you found peace? Is that what you're saying?
I've never felt this peace before.
So beforehand, even before you were in the military.
Yep.
In your life, how were you?
Oh my God, dude. It was a shit show.
Yeah.
A lot of childhood trauma, death of a sister to a drunk driver, my dad, some childhood sexual trauma, carried that into the military. 16 guys, buddies of mine died. 3 suicides. One of them was my groomsman.
Did you feel like you went into the military because of your past? Like, was it to try and reconcile, try and
Irish Catholic
let
kid.
out your aggressions?
No. I was an Irish Catholic kid from South Philly, South Jersey, taught service above self. Mm-hmm. I liked the beach. I liked airplanes. I'm like, wait, aircraft carrier, fighter aviation. Fucking Top Gun came out when I was in high school.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, naval aviation. So I wasn't necessarily running away from anything.
But somebody who becomes a naval aviator isn't your typical person. There's got to be a certain amount.
Thing?
It is a good thing.
Is there a compliment in there?
A certain amount of intelligence. No, I'm just saying, it's not just anybody. I'm a small engine pilot myself.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I've gone through some training, nothing like what you've done. But you have to have a certain amount of intelligence, understanding, problem solving, situational awareness, and so on and so forth, right? Mm-hmm. To do this, so you had something going for you. I'm assuming, right?
Well, yeah.
So I'm just trying to get to it.
But a lot of what you rattled off is also taught, right?
Yeah, but you got to be able to receive that and actually execute it.
Sure.
There are some people you can teach them. It's like Jack can make a plan out of anything. Okay, not everybody can do that. There's certain gifts that people have. Jack can look into a camera and deliver a line with heart and authenticity. Like, not a lot of people can do that.
True.
Okay.
Good point.
You have some gifts or talents that are already in you. Just trying to get to the point where you were saying you were different. You went into the military. You had these experiences. You felt like a shell of a man, you said, right? You had anger, aggression, whatever it was.
All of the above.
Okay. So then you get out and you're dealing with your life as it was in the moment. And you're drinking, I guess, doing drugs. What were you doing? How were you coping?
Drugs and alcohol.
So you're just hiding, you're masking, you're sneaking away, trying to escape the life that you're in at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's more escapism than anything else. And I think that's why most people, when it comes to the point of suicide, it's like I can't escape anymore, and there's no hope in the future. Yep. When you lose hope, you lose the reason for life.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Okay, so you're getting to that point. You're introduced to this. You do this program, and now explain to me the difference.
None of that exists. All of that is gone.
Yeah.
Wow. It was...
But it's peace.
30 years of...
How was your spiritual journey tied in with that?
This is the spiritual journey. I was a Irish altar boy, 3 masses a day,
so
Catholic schools.
There's a difference between religion and relationship.
Oh yeah. Well, no, there's a difference between religion and spirituality.
Yes.
So God was a white dude with a robe and flowing beard and lightning out of his fingertips. If I didn't go to mass on Sunday, I would burn for eternity with the skin melting off my body.
Now
right?
God is all of us.
God is you, me, all of us. God is everything around us. I have never, as a result of this medicine, been more spiritual in my life. I lost my religion. What type of God kills my 19-year-old sister from a drunk driver, destroys my family?
Yeah.
She was the middle. 6 kids. She was the grenade in the middle that killed everything. All of that was healed. All of it was gone.
So do you still ask that question, what kind of God could do that?
No. So
what's the question you ask now?
Well, I like to tell people I lost my faith, and people are like, what? I'm like, I have experience. I absolutely became one with God. I got answers. To your point, we take this deadly seriously, right? So you're going to get with Nicole. You're going to have your intentions for the medicine. You're going to have some questions for the medicine too. So you go in armed with stuff. So all of my questions were answered. All of my intentions were answered. And I remember almost kind of God like, you good? You got all this? I'm like, yeah, man. And I remember saying, wait, one more. And after giving me all the answers and everything and healing me, getting rid of the drugs and the alcohol and forgiving me for not being necessarily the best father or husband or human being, I said, God, hold on real quick. Before you go, which he didn't go anywhere. I said, why Monica? Why so young? Mm-hmm. And God looked at me and he said, I know. Trust me. Mm. And I was healed.
That's what faith is. Faith is the hope in something you don't understand.
So with that being said, I'm going to challenge you to do the medicine with me, Tracy. Right here.
I'm not against it. I don't know if I need it, but hey, I'll check it out. I don't know that I've had a traumatic experience, but maybe I have.
You don't necessarily need to have had a traumatic experience. Like I said, Aaron Rodgers. And so.
Well, he's got kind of banged up a couple times. He's hit the ground with his head a few times.
Exactly. No, that's a good point. And so the physical healing of these medicines are capable too. Yeah. I was a drinker.
Okay.
I was not a good drinker.
Before you get into that, can I just stop you for 1 second?
Sure.
I want the audience to understand. Mm-hmm. When you said that thing about God and said, I know, your eyes welled up with water.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
That comes from somebody who is willing to be vulnerable. And vulnerability, quite honestly, is the truest form of honesty in my belief, right?
That makes sense. I've never heard it like that, but that's
we
makes
shy
sense.
away from vulnerability as men, especially tough guys.
I used to hide. That's why I say 5 years ago, Whiz ain't sitting on a podcast right now, dude. I would have walked in and given me a wedgie and stole my lunch money and been like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
So,
But that moment right there would tell me, to anybody who's considering this, that is your proof.
Transformative.
Exactly. And and it's not so much about it being quote unquote a psychedelic. It's about and if I can get into this, you get into the neuroscience of things. Mm-hmm. We are conditioned as young people from age 0 to about age 7, our brains are in theta wave position, which is basically the same mindset you get in when you're being hypnotized, which is basically, if you liken it to a computer, you're writing files.
Receive,
Whatever's being told to you, you take it, you write it, and you go, this is truth, whether it's true or not. To you, it's truth.
Correct.
And if you make a truth in your life, then you're going to follow along that path. So as you're an older person and a situation comes up and you get hit with something.
Yep.
And it's interesting because your question was, God, I've heard that question so many times. What kind of God could allow these things to happen?
Exactly.
That comes from a basis of religion to basically say, if you don't do good or if somebody doesn't do good, whatever, you're punished. God's going to get you. He's going to punish you. Remember that old TV show, Wait Till Your Father Gets Home? It's kind of like that. Wait till God deals with you.
Yeah.
Which is not God at all.
Nope.
So we look at things many times from, a 7-year-old's mind until we're willing to rewrite those neural pathways in our brains.
Correct.
What I believe you're telling me is this stuff helps do that.
That's exactly what psychedelics do. They rewire those neural pathways.
You. Yeah.
It kind of brings you back to that default mode of being a 7-year-old before society and everything. It's a clean piece of paper. And to the point of the ibogaine and some of these medicines actually have neuroplasticity.
Yes.
They go in and refire, for Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, there are countless research studies going on right now to help with all of these neurological disorders. Could you imagine? Could
this be preventative as well as?
It is preventative as well too. Yeah. I'm reading studies about that.
I would do it for that.
There you go. No, it's
anything I can do to prep myself. I'm not getting younger every day.
These medicines can prevent, so absolutely the preventative. But
maintenance care is the important thing, and what we run into is like what you ran into is you didn't know there was something going on with you until all of a sudden you're at the doctor one day and they go, oh, by the way, you have this going on. But if you could be doing things now to help offset that, antioxidants, all that.
So me and the guys who did the medicine for the first time, Marcus Luttrell, JT, an NFL player with horrific CTE who was just put in the College Hall of Fame, and another Navy SEAL, we're going to do an annual knock the rust off. Old me, if I started getting to stall speed and had ice building up on my wings, I'd drink, or now I know, you know what? Just like Ultraman, I'd go touch, I can see the thing on my chest beeping, and I know I can go.
Ultraman, what a great reference. I love that you said Ultraman. I love that so much.
So, but and I was going to say before we start wrapping up is it also handles addictions. I was a drinker. I don't know if you could be a good drinker. Maybe you can. I was a bad drinker. Fighter aviation, culture of, fucking we're dying tomorrow, boys type of thing. Getting back from doing the ibogaine, I couldn't even look at alcohol. It made me physically sick to look at it. I'm a coffee fucking fiend. I couldn't drink caffeine. It was a complete. Now I'll have a couple glasses of wine with my steak, and old Whiz, a couple glasses of wine was a couple bottles of
the
wine with
beginning,
my steak.
yeah.
So it'll go in. Marcus and JT haven't had a drink or anything since. I feel guilty and I'm having a glass with but no, it doesn't control me anymore. So the reason I'm bringing that up is because even if you're like, dude, I didn't see anybody get their heads blown off, it can just give you a complete kind of system reset if you're up for that. But for me, it was 30 years of therapy in a weekend.
Yeah.
So
it's awesome. I'm happy for you. And I'm happy to see your eyes well up.
Oh, dude. Well,
it means a lot.
I go back to that moment often of
what's painful. And there's more questions than answers. That's the hard part.
But the whole I know and trust me was fucking epic. I'm like, man, it just went right through me. And it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was loving.
Yeah.
He was like, I know, buddy, you trust me. And after everything I had seen that whole time, I'm like, I do. Mm-hmm. I fucking do. I was healed from my sister's death at that point. So yeah, it was good. It was good, man. So fellas, this was fucking epic, man.
That was great.
I mean, I thought he was going to suck, but he was on, man.
He was on today.
He's good.
Oh, and speaking of, if you want to reach out to me, whether you're a fan of Booze Traveler or you want to find out more about my other show, Spirit Qwest, American Homecoming, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Southie Jack.
Southie Jack.
That's not Selfie Jack. I was a Selfie. Why do you want Selfie? Southie, where I'm from. Southie Jack. Southie Jack at Twitter and Instagram. Come say hi. I'll say hi back for sure. I'll reach out. If you have any questions about this or any of it, come say hi. I always like meeting new people.
What was the website again?
AmericanHomecoming.tv.
.tv. You know what's funny? We'll end on this. I started when I was in the Chicago Board of Trade, I started the Options News Network. I'm like, let's call it ONN.tv. I'm going to date myself. This is 2006 or 7. Back then, .tv, maybe it still is, let me know, was owned by the country island chain of...
Oh, really?
It just went out of my head. Televalu or some country island chain owned .tv. And you had to get the .tv from them. It was the island nation of... I feel like Cliff Clavin. It's a little known fact that .tv...
Yeah, Normie, did you know that?
Yeah. But it's interesting.
Jimmy?
When I hear .tv now, I'm like, I was one of the first guys to do that because this island nation was like, we own that. I'm like, can I lease it from you? And we did. So that was interesting. So,
yeah, no, nowadays .tv is just anything with TV.
Got it.
Yeah. There you go.
T squared.
Tracy
Trost, Jack Maxwell.
So fun being on with you. Congratulations for everything you're doing to help vets and just humanity, not just vets, but you're helping everyone, man. You're doing such great work. I love you so much, brother.
Love you too, man. I'm looking forward to holding space sometime in 2024 for the Southie Jack to step into the medicine, and he will be back for the debrief. And maybe you'll film it or something like that.
Absolutely. We'll bring it to the masses. T, what do you say?
Yeah, I like it.
All right, and you'll do it too, right?
To be continued.
Someone has to direct this thing.
Yeah, exactly.
We forgot to turn the camera on. We were all doing this thing.
We got to do it again.
That's all right.
Geez.
All right.
All right, fellas. I'll see you tomorrow night at the party, okay? Everybody else, have a great rest of your day. Happy hunting. Make sure you're hedged. Fights on. Namaste. And Basi, Whiz out.